Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Matthias Michael Hörnke, and let me ask you, how do you feel? That's a serious question. How do you feel right now? Take the time and lean back for a moment. Take a deep breath in and out. You feel calm, relaxed. Well, that's good, because that's today's subject. What we feel and how that affects our body. This is not a joke, this is serious. I want to talk about our feelings and how they physically measurable affect our bodies, just like in every other living being. We as humans like to think of ourselves as superior to everything else. And we tend to forget that we as well have our roots in nature. So what exactly am I talking about? Do you remember the last time you felt angry? I mean, like, angry! When we get angry, blood flows in our hands more quickly, makes it more easy to grasp a weapon. We have an adrenaline rush and our heart pressure, our blood pressure increases. These are the perfect conditions to attack something or somebody. Have you ever had a discussion with someone who's angry at you? And did you see the fire in their eyes? Them being ready, jumping down your throat? Now you know why. It is nothing they want, it is something their body just does. And for the man, if your girlfriend has warm hands every time you see her, you should be careful. Just saying. Well, something very different is the feeling of fear. When we are afraid, blood flows not in our hands, but our legs, in the lower body. Makes it more easy to flee. A side effect from that is that our face, for instance, get kind of pale, lack of blood, and our entire upper body feels kind of cold. The blood runs cold, sending shivers down your spine. But fear has another effect, the terror freezing. Have you ever been afraid? Let's say when you were a child or something, or maybe something recently. Do you remember that moment where you freeze in terror? Every muscle stops and you're like frozen in place. And this is called the moment of terror. And in that moment, while it's just a fraction of a second, it feels like half an eternity, right? It feels way longer than it actually is. And in that moment, you make an instinct decision if you're really gonna flee or if you're gonna stay in that position and hope that your predator will not see you. But let's talk about why this feels longer than it actually is. And this is not the only case, though. Do you know when you're in a bad mood, you have to go to work and things are kind of shitty, that time just will not pass? Well, let's talk about the opposite. Let's talk about happiness. Do you know when you're kind of in a very good mood and you're really happy? Do you know that feeling, and you know that time runs far more quickly? What actually happens is that our brain, if we're in a good mood, opens up more of its capacity to process information. Have you ever sit in front of your computer and watched a loading screen? The more capacity, the more resources your computer has available to work with, the faster this loading screen fills. Isn't it so? So the same thing happens with our mind. The happier we are, the more resources are offered by our brain to process incoming information and the decision making already inside of us. And the more quickly the day seems to pass, because information flows in much smoother. Now you know more than before. Since we're talking about good feelings and positive feelings, let us talk about love. Yes, that's what he just said. Let's talk about love. When you're in love, freshly in love, and you're with your spouse, your partner, you know how it just feels amazing. Like you don't need anything else to be happy. And when you're then actually separated from each other, you miss her or him so much. Why is that? Because your brain is flooded with dopamine when you're together, which is the rewarding hormone. And as soon as you're separated, you cut off your sweet, sweet drug. This is not a joke. This is serious. And as soon as you're back together, you get your dopamine again. So you actually get addicted to the presence of your partner. This is why the honeymoon phase feels so incredible. But just like a drug addict, you're not really capable of doing the everyday life. It's just so. And this is also the reason a breakup feels as terrible as it does. Because you're literally curing a drug addict. And the only way to cure a drug addict is to cut off his drugs. And of course, he will feel miserable. Talking about feeling miserable, let us talk about sadness. The last big part. When you feel deeply sad, maybe because of the loss of a loved one, you will experience a lack of energy, a huge lack of enthusiasm. Everything that you were previously interested in just seems gray and mundane. In that state, that is the perfect state to mourn a loss. It makes you step back from the stress of everyday life and kind of see the bigger picture. As soon as you're over your loss and energy slowly returns, you're able to use that bigger picture, that new perspective, to make new plans and a new beginning. It helps you to think over your life and to value what you have left. It helps you grow as a person. Now, looking at all of these moods and what they actually do to us, none of them are bad. They are all kind of good for us, right? Under one condition, we need to be aware of what is happening to us. Do you remember the time when you were a teenager? where you were just confused what has happened to you. Knowing oneself seems key to inner peace. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you for your time, and I would like to welcome you next time. My name is Matthias Michael Hörnke, and I'll see you tomorrow.